Hello, and if you go down to the woods today, you're in for a big surprise, because I'm finishing off part 35 of Summoner. Yeah, maybe I should give these intros a little more thought. But anyway, we travel through this lifeless forest. That's another point I didn't talk about either. It's the fact that these are, these demonic trees, or whatever, have no leaves on them. Now, I guess you could be cynical and argue maybe that's that's a limitation of the engines. It's like, oh, we can't render all these graphics. Quick, take the leaves off the trees. But nevertheless, it is meant to be like a dead forest. And yeah, I've said before, this game does have a few forest environments, but at least this one has its own identity. Now, around this area here, which is past the house we just passed by, on the middle island of the forest. Anyway, there's a big huge pit which you want to be careful not to walk into. Or, be careful your friends don't walk into it, because I know they probably would. Ah, be very, very quiet. I'm hunting Oni. That was my Elmer Fudd impersonation. Quite terrible, you'll agree. But yeah, I was talking earlier, in an earlier part that is, about the Fate of Rook side quest. And this is part of that side quest. Well, the thing is, you don't need these items to complete the side quest. You just need to tell the lore keeper what happened to Rutger, and that will count as, finishing the side quest. But nevertheless, these items will, if you give these items to him as well, you'll gain extra experience. So, yep, it is worth doing. Now, here's something the FAQs on this game pointed out, and I just wanted to give it a try. They say that if you cast Fireball on an enemy, they'll just stay there and let themselves burn. Providing of course they don't see you, because otherwise they would of course run and attack you. And the Oni's like the Oni, completely unaware. He's like going, do you smell something burning? But yeah, if you want to be a real cheap ass about it, that's how you use Firewall effectively. But up in this gun is the Eversharp Katana. Quite decent, I suppose, although I do have better swords. I will say that I think I do prefer this dungeon of the swamp dungeon we had earlier. Just because it's a bit lighter, I can see where I'm going, and it's a bit less complex. I mean, before I called this complex, but I think that's just because of the large amount of side quests and items you have to find here. And in terms of the dungeons, it is the most side quest heavy. In fact, it makes me wonder if they didn't intend to have another dungeon in this continent. I mean, there is one more, but then the one after this one is fairly short, actually. Wall of Fire. You cannot defeat my firewall. I shall destroy you like I destroy viruses on the internet. Yeah, again we're finding ourselves walking through a destroyed village. And you do have to wonder, can any villages stay? Can you have a village and have it not be horribly destroyed in a fantasy epic? But oh well. Again, I hate to nitpick, but I think it'd be good if we saw like the capital city of Aurenia. Kind of like the city of gods in Lanel. Except it'll be all eastern and stuff. But then again, I guess the implication is that this civilization isn't doing too well. especially since Murad is messing things up. Oh, but don't worry about him. He'll get what's coming to him quite soon, actually. And something about these Oni is that they actually give off really crap experience points. They only give off like 100 or 200 experience points per kill. So really, they're... I hate to say, but they're not even worth killing. Which I don't really get why these enemies, you know, give you such low experience points. Is that a programming oversight? Is the experience based on something? But well, my guess is that they didn't want you to be too over-leveled. Because I think at this point they are approaching like the later teens, like level 18 and 19. And the maximum level, I think it's 25. I don't know, because I've never really reached it. Because after a certain point, the experience points you need to level up go into like the millions. I just wanted to point out, I did miss an item back there, Bane's Kiss. But I do actually collect it on screen. I just sort of cut back to it later. Now up in this forest here, we have this sort of you'll see it soon, but it's sort of like the graveyard. Look, I'm thinking about something here, and that's apparently the dragon died while fighting the demon here, and so did the demon. So I guess they both came back somehow. But there you go. You know, I kind of wish this level did have like I'd say a less atmospheric music track. You know, like a background music that actually sounds like music, but I guess that would sort of ruin the atmosphere. Well, saying that, I guess what really would have helped this level be even more spooky would be a fog. You know, like in Silent Hill. That would actually be really creepy if you could only see like a couple of feet in front of you. Awkward as... yeah, really awkward, but there you go. And to fit in with the whole gloominess aspect, we've just come across an ancient graveyard. Of course, this graveyard is sort of an optional area, but yeah, we need to go here to complete some side quests. And again, this level's complex when it comes to the number of side quests, but its layout, it's fairly linear. It's just like a snaky path with the occasional offshoot. And here we see a close-up of the Oni. And yeah, they kind of seem like insects from a distance, but you can see they do actually have sort of like fleshy skin. But yep, you leave the items with the Oni there, and that will complete the Family Tradition side quest. And of course, just to, well, finish it off properly, you need to speak to the widow back in Wo Long. And here's a quite interesting side quest. We meet this interesting Oni here called Piavo. And apparently she was originally a human being, whose father was a forest spirit. And she grew up in a forest, well, she grew up in the village and then eventually turned into this Oni. And of course, to help her restore her to her human form, she needs to give up her immortality. And to do this, she's put her soul in a box, and we are meant to throw it into the Cavern of Wo Long. Oh, actually, I really like this side quest. You know, you're doing a good deed for someone, and it also feeds into the mythology. And again, you know, when you fight enemies in games, it helps if the enemies have a reason for being there, or if there's some backstory to them. And granted, this isn't the most in-depth backstory, but you know, you have a human being, you have a demon spirit. You know, it's just it just really helps flesh out this universe. which I guess is why I'm so fond of this game. But anyway, you turn back up here and you're back on the main path, as it were. Now, speaking of demons, of course, when it comes to like the western... Oh, that's Meteor Storm, by the way. Which I guess I should use when we're actually in a group. Now, Meteor Storm, that spell, it obviously casts meteors, but I'm hesitant to use it because there's a chance it could hit one of your fellow teammates. Although the thing is, as you get later on in the game, your opponents, I mean your friends, can become really resistant to fire and sort of magic in general. So really, in the later part of the game, I would recommend using Meteor Storm if you're in like a large swarm of enemies, because at that point it will probably do a lot more damage to your enemies than your party. Now, up in this corner here we have the Grey Dragon Scale, which is the last of the Dragon Scales. We have all 4 of them. And this one will pair up your dark moves, +2.
Flap. Success.
Yeah, I would say most of the battles in this game are with these Oni. They can get a bit repetitive, but on the bright side, at least these Oni are well, they're mainly exclusive to this dungeon, so it's not like they're overused. And with the Imp, I guess he got killed when I wasn't looking or something, but anyway, time to show off the Celestial Samurai. And he's definitely one of my favourite summons, just from a design standpoint. In terms of usefulness, he's, well, I would say he's fairly average. Because as you can see, he's just he's a samurai. He's just going to be like another melee support character. Anyway, I was saying the battle with the Oni can get a bit repetitive, but actually this dungeon has quite an interesting boss fight coming up. Yeah, you see at the last second, the Oni turned around and saw me, but I'm not sure how it works. I think I was standing too close to the Oni. I've been saying Oni, but for all I know, it could be pronounced Oni. You know, some say Oni, some say Oni. And I've been saying how powerful your characters have become, but you can see now in a one-on-one fight, they're still not going to pwn anyone instantly. And you can see there, Jakar's weapon tripped over the enemy Oni, and then Felice used backstab, which is another good reason why these, the Devassa is such a good weapon, because it can trip enemies. And even if you're not using backstab, tripping enemies is great, because obviously they can't attack you, and their defense goes right down. But you'll see how useful the Devassa is later on. Yeah, originally recording this, I think it took me like 2 hours to complete this dungeon, but fortunately you get the benefit of crossfades. So on with that, we're finished with this part. Please join me again.